Well, hey guys, good morning. Brent Abel, Gold Ball Hunting. Another episode of our podcast, and today a little different version of what we've been doing with each one of our episodes. This is an audio-only version. We normally are doing video with me and Jeff, but Jeff is getting ready for his grand opening tomorrow at the Wesson Lawn Tennis Club in Pontiac, Michigan. So he is pretty much unavailable, but we've got someone equally as great to share some time with this morning, the great Erika Smith. Thanks so much for doing the spur of the moment.
My pleasure, Brent.
This is great. This is great. Well, if you guys don't know Erika Smith, and I know that many of you do because I did a different, it was a web tennis podcast. I want to say, what was that, a couple of years ago, something like that, where we talked about doubles drills, and you were talking about if you make your first 3 shots in your doubles drill, you're going to be just fine in your matches. Was that about 2 years ago, something like that?
I think it was. Time flies, but I think it was a couple of years ago.
Yeah. And I had so many positive responses from that, a lot of great comments. And I think at the time the gold ball count was under 20, but I know it's over 20 now. Where are you now in terms of national titles?
21.
21, the big 2-1. All right. Well, listen, I want to chat real quickly. And actually, we've got a great topic for you guys today. And before we get into it, I just want to remind you that Jeff and I are still offering a free private 10-minute coaching call where you can get on the phone with me and Jeff. It's a 3-way call. It's private. It's not recorded. We don't publish it anywhere, but what we want you to do is kind of bring that one thing in your game right now where you're struggling, that if we could help put you in the path to get that solved, that you might start getting the result on a consistent basis that you want from your tennis game. So the way to do that is to go over to goldballhunting.com, drop in a first name and email address, click the button, and you get immediate access to our online calendar scheduler. So, here's what I want to talk to you today about is right now, as we're recording this, Pacifico Seniors is being hosted over the Berkeley Tennis Club. And I had to play, Chris Morgan and I had to play a doubles match last night against a very good team, a tough draw, I guess, for both of us. That was really our first round match. Our opponents had played the day before, but a really high quality team. And I started off just in the tank. I mean, I had no energy. I couldn't get going. I couldn't get a ball in the court. And really, and I know that you were up there in the deck watching the thing, and it was pretty nasty for the first almost 20 minutes, maybe 20, 30 minutes. It was not great. And I know for myself as a player that maybe not that long ago, I might have gotten frustrated and ticked off and sort of either said some things or sort of, outwardly shown some emotion because I'm kind of embarrassed about how bad I'm playing. And yet last night or yesterday afternoon, I just kind of felt, you know what, if you just don't do anything here, if you don't react to not playing well, which is a reality. I mean, we go out there sometimes and we might have a great warm-up or we might have a lousy warm-up, whatever, but we start the match off just like crap. And so I just kind of felt yesterday, look, if you just don't panic, you give yourself the best chance of maybe, it's not a guarantee, but of maybe, kind of finding your rhythm and going. And I know that, we talked a little bit before we did the recording, Erika, that a lot of players at that moment kind of take themselves out of it. So, what's your sense of what players do and maybe what we could be doing instead when those matches, whether it's a league match or a tournament match, where we start off and we just, we're just in a lousy place. Chat about that a little bit about, maybe what you saw yesterday or maybe in theory, kind of what you think we could be doing with that.
Yeah. I think the first thing, as you've already mentioned it, is not to panic. And I always have the phrase in my head and is that you can't win or lose the match in the first 15 minutes. That's the beauty of tennis. Unlike baseball, where, if you could if the other team scores 9 runs on you in the first inning,
that's right. You could be screwed.
You could possibly be screwed.
Yeah.
But you can't lose a match in the first couple, in the first 30 minutes. And I think it was about 20, 25 minutes that you and Chris were really just awful. I mean, it was just beautiful. I mean, Maya and I were sitting there watching, and we both were thinking, yeah, this is going to be done pretty quickly. So I think the first thing is to not panic, and just sort of reset. And even if that means you have to reset every point, and just sort of set some goals for yourself. Some, it might not be I have to win the game. It's not even to win the next point, but it could be I'm going to get the ball back to what we started off with. I'm going to get the ball back in the court 3 times. I'm going to make them hit 3 balls. I'm going to make my return in the context of doubles. I'm going to make my return. I'm going to make my first volley. And even if you lose the point, you're saying to yourself, okay, I got 2 balls in. This is good. I can work with this. But I think the biggest thing is to not panic. And also, you have to sort of have enough of a positive mindset or not a panicking mindset to decide to analyze, is this because I've got low energy? Because that's sort of the context we're talking in today. Or are my opponents doing something that's adding to this? I mean, are they playing very well? Do they hit a ball that makes me uncomfortable? So uncomfortable plus low energy is just causing this to be, a start. And dissect that, because is it really all about you and your energy level, or that you just started off badly, or are your opponents contributing? Because, oftentimes your opponents are contributing to your bad feelings at the beginning, when you're starting off a match slowly.
Yeah. That's right. Well, Chris is a huge NBA fan. He loves the Warriors, and being from the Bay Area, gosh, we all love the Warriors, right? So the last series against
Trailblazers.
I'm sorry?
Against the Trailblazers.
Against the Trailblazers, right. Draymond Green just kind of took over that series with his energy. And so there was one point, I think Chris and I were still down a break in the first set, and Chris was serving and struggling. And I kind of went up to him and I just said, you know what? Let's get a little Draymond energy going here. Let's see if we can do that. And you could see in his eyes, he just went, yeah, let's just be Draymond for, a few minutes and see if we can't get some energy going. And that kind of took us out of what you're talking about, which is results. Like, either I got to make up for all the crap that I've just done for the last 20 minutes with something spectacular, meaning that I'm just, going from lousy to great, as opposed to process, or opposed to what Chris and I just finally did. It's just going, let's kind of get our Draymond on here and just bring some energy to this thing. And we end up kind of greasing out the first set. I mean, those guys contributed to because whatever level of play they had in the beginning, it kind of dropped off, and we got fortunate there. But I also think too that there's this thing, and I used to do this, where I was thinking, well, gosh, if I'm playing lousy now, I've got to do something so much better. I can't just do what you're saying, which is, to me, it's more about process at that point. Well, what's the process I need to either queue up or remind myself of, rather than results? And you might say, well, 3 shots in play is a result. Yeah, but that's not really talking about winning or losing points. It's much more about, I just got to make 3 balls here, or I got to make 2 balls, or whatever. Start at 1, get at 1. All right, we lost a point, but I got a ball in play. All right, let's see if I can up it and go to 2. And I think that too often we, players think in terms of, to get out of the funk, I've got to do something that's going to create a result. And that's the beauty of scoring in tennis. We could have lost that first set and still been okay.
Right. And so specific to your match yesterday, you went down a break early on and really just looked out of sorts, and then sort of flipped the switch and were even with them. And at that point, from the spectator standpoint, I was thinking, well, they might lose the first set, but they're getting their rhythm going. and they'll be okay in the second, because you went a string of games in which you held and, everyone was holding. But then at the end of the first set, and I think it had to do with the fact that you guys were making your opponents play a little bit more, they then got tight on a service game and you guys broke back. But even if you'd lost that first set, it was important that you guys focused on the fact that you got broken early in the first set. In fact, I think when I sat down, Mai looked at me and went, "Ugh, Brent got broken first game."
Yeah.
And,
That's right.
but there were no breaks until the very end of the first set, when they were pretty much serving for the first set and they got broken.
Right.
But even if they hadn't, you had now played 8 games in which it was getting better and better every game. So even as a mindset, if you'd lost that first set, the two of you are, experienced players and smart players, and you still would have, I think, on the changeover on the bench, looked at each other and went, okay, well, we got ourselves back in it. Now let's get to work and get going on the second set. Instead, your increased energy resulted in them getting a little tight. You were able to break back, then hold. And now, for the first time, they're in a situation where they have to hold to stay in the match. And they got very tight because you were playing better and you weren't just giving them the points. And that was a very different pressure for them.
Yeah. Well, so we end up winning the first set 7-5, and then we promptly go down 5-1 in the second. I mean, it's kind of like, oh man. I mean, I'm on a yo-yo here, right?
Yeah.
And yet one thing I just told Chris, and I said, well, let's at least make them work here, right? And it was kind of like, I want them, at least to have to hold serve to win the set, so that we can, if we don't win that second set, that we can come out and serve first in the third. And somehow, we end up getting it to 5-all. And I think, Chris is serving at 5-all in the second set. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm just kind of chuckling, going, the scoring system's crazy here. And the swings from, one end to the other, the 180s are just amazing. And then we do everything we can to hold Chris's serve, and we have some game points, but we ultimately, lose Chris's serve, and ultimately lose that second set 7-5. And I'm just thinking, well, okay, here we go. And
but the difference was from 4-1 down, or even 5-1 down, to 7-5. You won more games than you lost. So even you were still going into the third set with playing better than you'd started the second set.
No, that's true. That's true.
And I think that made a huge difference, because then you just sort of started steamrolling in the third set.
Well, but I opened up the third set serving, and promptly went down 15-40.
Yeah.
And I think they had a couple more break points, and we just kind of garbaged it out, right? I mean, it's like after we finally held, I told Chris, I said, thank God this is not a beauty contest, because, the Russian judge would have us at a 3 out of 10 and the, whatever. And it was just, but it's just one of those things where you just kind of keep clawing away. And I just sort of felt yesterday that if I get frustrated, if I show any kind of frustration, it's over.
Yeah.
And there were lots of opportunities for me to show a lot of frustration. And so I know that helped me just to realize, come on, no big deal here.
Right. Well, I think there were a couple takeaways that for the listeners to understand. And first of all, in the context of doubles, neither one of you got frustrated with yourself, individually, but also that frustration was never towards your partner.
Right.
I think that's important, because, I've played plenty of doubles matches in which I've started off, gone into a funk, stayed in a funk the whole time. But when my doubles partner is being positive and saying, okay, come on, let's just, try and keep going. But if they start getting frustrated and demoralized because I'm playing badly, then you're snowballing. So yeah. One thing that I thought was very good is that you both kept positive body language for yourself, but also that meant it was for each other as well.
Yeah.
So,
well, no, yeah. I mean, there's no question. I mean, I think part of being a great partner is that body language between points, whether you've just chunked an easy one or your partner's just chunked an easy one,
Right.
and you could, I mean, you could start pointing the finger, and I see this way too often, especially in league tennis, where a partner just kind of slumps the shoulders after their partner misses a shot, and you go, "What are you doing?" I mean, you're just telling your partner something in the worst possible way. So, well, that's good. I'm glad that you picked up on that, and
Yeah.
we were able to, we ended up winning the second or the third set 6-0, which was kind of strange because it's one of those things where it only took maybe 20 minutes at the most, and yet everything that could kind of go our way, where there's maybe a reflex that is semi mishit, ends up as sort of a little perfect lob winner. And they did miss a couple of easy balls, and by the end of it, when they were serving at 5-0, I told Chris, I said, Chris, do not let these guys give this to us. We cannot take our foot off the pedal right now, because I've seen it too. I've seen it too many times where someone gets up 4-1 in the third or 5-0 in the third, and you just kind of sit back a little bit and just kind of hope that they give you the rest of the match.
Well, it goes to your point of tennis. It's like you're waiting for the clock to run out, but that doesn't happen in tennis.
That does not happen. That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, good stuff. So what do you got coming up? You got any tournaments coming up?
I think
Summer?
I'm taking a little bit of a break right now to get rid of a nagging injury, but then hopefully the grass courts in July.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. And I know that, Jeff Jacklich, my partner here in Go Ball Hunting, you guys have spent a lot of time before he went to Pontiac, and just, give up a little love on Jeff in terms of his coaching skills.
Oh, well, I mean, I've been working with Jeff now for just under a year, and I have you to thank for that, because you had introduced us. You got me to play a mixed doubles exhibition with him, and that was fun, and that sort of started the process. But I think he's just got a great approach, and I've listened to a bunch of the Gold Ball Hunting podcasts, and if nothing else, to just keep his voice and his phraseology in my head, in addition to catching up with him in person. But he just has a great approach, and I think that what everyone should look for when they're, if you're not in the Pontiac, Michigan area or the Napa area, you want to find someone who is not too technical on stroke production. And that's when I think that the point that the two of you have emphasized, which Jeff really practices what he preaches, is that it's not about, close the angle of the racket face 5% and your forehand will improve. It's really about your swing path and your posture and your spacing, and just allowing your own unique swing path to be maximized. And it's simple to say, it's not as easy to do, but at least you're not thinking when you're hitting about 20, 25 different things. So, Jeff and I have worked a lot on my serve. But we've also worked on, pretty much every shot. And he made a little observation on my forehand one day that it's not that it made my forehand better, but it made my forehand, it crystallized what I do when my forehand feels a little off, what I need to quickly correct. And it really all had to do with posture. And I said to him a couple of weeks later, after we were out there for another session, I said, what's incredible is that when my forehand's going well, it's not going better than it goes. It's a good forehand. I can hit it pretty well. But when it goes off, when it's not going well, it's now, I don't have the fluctuation. I have an even smaller fluctuation than I usually do, because I know exactly what I'm doing. When it feels a little off, I know exactly what to correct. And it's very simple. It's just about my posture and my spacing, as opposed to anything else. And so I think that he's really simplified. I'd say he's simplified my checklist. Really, and that's very productive, because back to our talk today, if you have a 25-point checklist that you're trying to get through when you're not playing well, you're going to run out of time as you work your way through that checklist.
That's right.
So it's nice to be able to get out there and, if I'm playing singles or doubles and I miss a few returns and, I'm not used to missing returns on my forehand side, I don't panic. I don't think, oh my gosh, I'm no, let me just correct my posture and let me just focus on my posture and my spacing, and boom, it comes right back and I feel fine. And then I'm able to get my way back into it. But, on the back end, I just have a very short checklist. So I think that's, Jeff's got a lot of great. He does a great job. I think he does a great job coaching me, and I've really benefited from it. But to me, one of the big takeaways with him is that he crystallizes it down to very simple things, shortens up my checklist, and that's what everyone should look for when they're trying to find a good pro to work with. Is are they shortening that checklist, or are they giving you too much minutia to go through to make sure they hit their hand or backhand or volley or serve or whatever properly? If it's not big concepts, then I think it just makes it very tough when your game goes off. Everything's great when you're playing well. It's when you're not playing well, and how do you fix it? That's where your relationship with your coach and your pro, that's where it matters.
Yeah. No, it's good. That's really
and
good.
I think Jeff is very good in that regard, as to really breaking it down to what you need to fix, and not fix the result, but fix the cause. And I think he's also very good at, because we've had conversations on like, oh, I do this. And he goes, no, you do, you're not reaching for the volley, your feet are stopping, and that's why you're reaching. So instead of saying don't reach, tell yourself, keep moving.
Yeah, no, that's right. Well, listen,
something like that.
What you're talking about, the advice that you're giving about trying to find a coach or a teaching pro that actually helps you sort of become more minimalist with stroke technique.
Yeah.
A smaller checklist. I love the way that you phrase that. But the thing that Jeff and I both really, really believe in is that if you're out there looking for a coach or looking for a teaching pro to help you with your game, because you're a competitive league player, because you're a competitive tournament player, where the results are made public, right? And you've got to find someone who the first thing that they say to you is, okay, let's do this. I want to see you play at least one set first before you go to someone, a new guy, and the guy says, well, tell me about your strokes. Well, my forehand. Okay, well, let's work in your forehand. And to me, it's like, that's the guy or gal that you don't want. You want someone who's going to actually watch you play and be able to sort of analyze that, you know what, your forehand's good enough. We don't really need to do anything without it. Sure, everything could be better at some point, but that would be a waste of time. So rather than taking your forehand up the line in this situation, where it couldn't be any more of a low percentage shot, just take that thing right back at them. Just go right, and so to me, the advice I would add on to what you're saying, Erika, is find a teaching pro or coach who wants to really see who you are as a player.
Yeah.
As opposed to, well, let me see if I can analyze stroke technique, which, by the way, to me is just, it's like an annuity, right? It's kind of like the easiest thing that a teaching pro can do is to tinker on stroke technique forever. And that does not end up moving the needle in terms of what we're talking about today, in terms of, some of it's mental, some of it is how do you handle yourself in a match when things aren't going well, like we talked about today, about at the beginning of a match. But, yesterday I didn't think to myself, well, to get going, I've got to now go through my long checklist of stroke technique cues, as opposed to just come on, Brent, just settle down. Everything's fine. Don't worry about it. Just like you say, let's make one ball. Let's make two balls. Let's make three balls. And that has really nothing to do with stroke technique. So, well, listen, good stuff. Good luck. Hope you're you get over whatever injury you've got and that you're ready to go play the grass. I know you love going back there.
I do.
And really appreciate your time. Spur of the moment this morning, Erika.
I know.
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
So, all right, guys. Well, listen, again, quick reminder if you want to get on a free private coaching call with me and Jeff, the three of us, just go over to goldballhunting.com, drop in an email and first name, click the button. You'll get immediate access to our online calendar scheduler. And let's see what else. Well, Jeff always ends up this thing, Erika, maybe you can remember it. Jeff ends up with, please like us.
Like it, like us, share us.
Yes.
Something.
Subscribe.
Subscribe. Okay.
And
I've done. So
and leave a comment.
There we go.
Yes. Those are the
at least someone leave a comment saying we miss Jeff and hope he comes back because
he'll be back, I'm sure, tomorrow.
Jeff is, I'm not replacing Jeff. There's
well, you never know.
That would be very bad for the podcast.
No, I'm sure they love it. So, all right, guys, get out there today. Help someone else have a spectacular day. And Jeff and E, we will do this again, hopefully soon. Thanks, guys.
All right. Bye.